Thinking Chat with Rev Benson Akhigbe II.
Thank you.
So good to have you today.
Thank you, Derek, for being here again.
Thank you. We've been having a different thinking approach to some discussion, and we'll be looking at the series Aspiring to Greatness. And today is a continuation of that conversation, and we're looking at emerging as a leader. So we're going to be walking through with Reverend as he take us through emerge as a leader with a different thinking approach to the conversation. All right. So when you were discussing, you said that some persons, sometimes we have born with leadership traits. There are some leadership traits who have to learn. Okay, and you made mention of them. I want you to just start as a launching pad to walk us through being born with a leadership trait and also needing to learn leadership traits.
Yeah, the natural born leaders, Derek, natural born leaders, they take responsibility, either because they have, if you look at Romans chapter 12, talking about the gift of leadership. There are people that have that redemptive gift of leadership. So when they get into a place, they look at every problem through the eye of a leader. So how are they going to solve those problems? There is a gift, and some of them use it for the negative things, or some use it for the positive thing. Depends on who you present the gift to. But there are others that you can learn it. You can learn leading, because Jesus told us that we are supposed to disciple nations, and you don't have to have that inborn thing, but you have His Spirit living on the inside of you that can guide you and teach you. And even as you develop the fruit of the Spirit, with self-control, patience, kindness, all these things are the things that will actually make you to be a compassionate leader. So you can really learn it.
Okay. So while this conversation is going on, we are open to taking your comments, your questions, right? And you just follow us on our YouTube handle, our Facebook handle, and to even go back to listen to the full conversation, Reverend Sam on emerge as a leader. So we continue. You talked about 3 steps to emerging
As a leader,
and the first one you said, hot pursuit for God. So the question is, how does pursuit for God make you emerge as a leader?
you see, pursuing relationship with God is about pursuing to do His will. Jesus made a statement. He said, "My meat," in other words, what gives me strength, is to do the will of God. And so every day you wake up with a consciousness that it's not because that doing His will or obeying Him is the why He loves you. No, He loves you without any condition attached. Now, my pursuing Him is a response to that love. That David made that statement, say, as the deer pants for the water brook. I want to pursue Him to see that everything He has for me, or everything He has destined, the scroll He has written in my life, or for my life, coming here to act it out, I can fulfill them. And it's only in Him that I can do that. So I wake up with the consciousness, or every day where you are, I turn my head constantly. It's a practice. We may not be perfect in one day, because we were born into a culture of performing. And the more you perform, the greater the applause, the greater the thumbs up. But the kingdom says, "Follow me, follow me." Jesus told His disciples after He resurrected, "Say, follow me." In fact, before he even when He was going to choose them, that was a statement: "Follow me." Every Jewish teenager wants to hear that word from a rabbi: "Follow me." So I want to follow Him. In other words, He knows where I'm going to. So I wake up with the consciousness, or with I'm alive with this consciousness. One, thank you for a new day. Secondly, what do you have me to do? Not out of fear that you will kill me, but out of that I was put here to bring reformation. I was put here to bring transformation, so that I will not be conformed to the patterns of this world. If I'm conformed to the patterns of this world, then I'm following this world. And I cannot transform the word that I'm called to transform by following the pattern of that word. I must bring the patterns of the kingdom into this reality. And I would do that with not only my own following him alone, but following him in community. So I'll be in part of a community. So in pursuing God, it's not pursuing God alone, although that's a reality. As for me and my household, I will be part of a community that pursues God. I will join a community that pursues God and what God has for them. So that becomes a reality for us.
Okay. So
because it's only you can only make good decisions by hearing his voice.
Okay. So by so doing, when you say pursuing relationship with God,
Yeah.
not pursuit for God, does that entail, and you say you do it in relationship, does that practically entail being going to church? Is going to church hot pursuit, pursuing relationship with God? Can we, because I want to emerge as a leader, I want to pursue relationship with God, can I interpret it as always being in church?
You see, when you say always being in church, I want to differentiate it. Is it always being in a building? Because if you say church, church in scripture is called ecclesia. It was when they were translating the King James version that Bishop Bishop said they should, when you see ecclesia, you should write church. And when you say church, you see church. If I say church now to you, it's a building with a pastor inside, and people sitting down listening to the pastor. But in the ecclesia, it's not like that. It's both the gathered and the scattered. That means that even when I'm not with you physically, I'm still with you. We have come into a reality which was purported from the West that you can do Christianity alone. It's not possible. It's not possible because iron sharpened iron. There's a revelation you have, Derek, that I don't have. And with that revelation, you are using it to sharpen me. I want you to understand that, so that if with this individualistic Christianity we have, that's why we are not so effective. And it said, by this they shall know that you are my disciples, if you love one another. It's a love community that the world wants to see, not a loving individual. It's a love community that people will say, no, I want to be part of that, because we were created for community. You are born into a family. That's why it says he puts the lonely in family. I can't pursue him. I can't pursue him alone. No, I will even falter. When people are watching my back and I'm watching other people's back, and they are looking out for me, I'm looking out for him. Then when one falls, the other one can encourage. Okay. So being in church is that being in community. I don't have to be in a building, but the building is necessary for the gathered church. But there must be the scattered, where they met from house to house, where they met in the business places, to actually bring transformation. And people will see us not only in the building, but outside the world, and say, look at how the people love God.
Okay. So you said when we pursue relationship with God, we are listening to hear what He wants us to do, what He wants us to say. So what happens to the facts and the reality that we can visibly see in our world every day? How are we to ignore the facts before us, the reality before us, and we are turning to hearing what He will have us do? And sometimes, in quote, what He will have us do it's not responding to the fact and the reality facing us.
Yeah. You see, faith does not deny the reality. There is reality, but also there is ultimate reality. There is reality and there is ultimate reality. Now look at the reality. The reality is that, Derek, you want to pursue something, a degree that is popular, maybe a path that is people call it very popular, and you are brilliant for it, but within the context of community, because that's why I say you can't study the Bible yourself. You can't hear, even when I hear God, I have to bounce it off, one, with the people that are more mature than me. Because there are some things you will go to meet with God and He will tell you. There are some things He will release to those above you and those within your community. Why? He doesn't want you to be independent. He wants us to be interdependent. This finger here is working well because it's connected to the body. And most times we want to get disconnected. So there are critical decisions you can't take alone. These decisions must be taken within the family. One, who to marry, the career to pursue, where to live, has to be taken in community, because in the place where you are going to stay, you need community support. And so wanting to hear God is that you can hear directly, especially when you have practiced over time. And now, you know what I tell people? People want to hear God for the big things. Who should I marry? No. Start hearing God for the little things. What is the little thing? Somebody walks past you and you hear God, and you hear a voice, or you just have an inner witness that give this person some food. It doesn't have to do with anything. You may not even hear the testimony later. Those little obedience, those little things, there are things going on. Same thing, little ones. Somebody within your community, you are there with the person, and there's a word for the person. So most times people think the voice of God is for their own benefit. No doubt it's for your benefit, but not only. I hear God also for those within my community. I hear God for even my nation, to determine how I should pray. So this is how you are going to follow through. And we have a school that has to do with that, the Adlam School of Supernatural Reformation and Transformation. So that you have practical sessions where you will be taught how to hear God and how to practice it. So that little by little, I'll give you an example. Your children, they didn't start making one full sentence in one day. And they didn't start hearing when you were calling their name. But right now, they can distinguish whether it's your voice or your wife's voice. So their senses have been trained.
Okay, thank you. That leads us into the second step you gave, which is pursuing relationship with people. So how do we pursue relationship with people? That's the first question. I think I was just at the second part of that question will be pursue relationship with people. Don't I need a position to be able to influence people? So the first one is, how do we pursue relationship with people? Then, is it not position I need to be able to influence people?
You see, no doubt there are some position you have that will influence people. But if you're waiting to get to that position to influence people, you are not truly becoming the salt and the light of the world. When you are going to make egusi soup, and they say, and somebody say, give me the ingredient, the first thing they will mention, there is no salt. They will give you all the other ingredients and they will put salt maybe as a flavor. So you understand what I'm talking about. You may not mean the main attraction, because most times people think that I need to get a position to influence people. There's a truth to that. But the ultimate reality is that in influencing people is to be able to care for them. Do I care enough to pray for them? Do I care enough to serve them? And to look at, for example, I see you come to the office, and the first thing I'm asking, you're not smiling. I don't need a position for that. Or I come to your office and I'm smiling and I'm greeting you with a smile and with that cheerfulness. I don't need a position for that. Again, the lowest person in the office can do that. The person that do not have position in the office or in the family, maybe the last born or the last child, can do that. The maid in the home can do that. And that's why you see some people have influence with people in authority. Much more, okay, let me try to put it this way. A driver may have more influence with the CEO of a company than the people than his directors.
Okay.
He's not in the board meeting. But the driver has applied himself to understand how people think. And so maybe one day something happened and the CEO asked him a question. And he brought an answer because he cares about people. I tell you, if that answer helped the MD, the CEO, the next time he's going to ask that driver. So all we need to do is to care about one another for that influence.
Okay.
If I care about you and I'm always looking for you, not because of eye service, but because I've been called to disciple nations, and I will start with the next person to me, not thinking about when I get to be the governor or I get to own my business or I'm now the boss in the office, but starting from where I am, I can do that.
Okay, so if we say that is pursuing influence with people, and oftentimes we've heard that leadership is influence.
Yes.
Leadership is influence, and most times where we want to talk about leadership is influence, we want to be in a position where I'm an advantage or I'm superior to be able to influence you to follow.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't have to be. In fact, you might have a position and not have influence over people. They will only fear you because you can promote them or you can withhold reward.
Okay.
But when the real leader talks, they will listen. Because that one has shown to them that he cares.
Okay. We are still on this conversation, emerge as a leader. We have looked at pursuing influence with relationship with God. We are looking at pursuing relationship with others. And the third point Reverend gave was finish what you started. The conversation we are going to be asking Reverend is why the point finish what you started. However, we are open to taking comment, questions, and you also have access to listening to the entire sermon conversation on this topic, Emerge as a Leader, which was done over the weekend on the first day of the week, otherwise called Sunday, and the full message is there. So leave your thoughts, your comments, your questions. We are good to taking them. So in the course of Emerge as a Leader, why this third point, which is pursuing finishing? Why that third point?
You see, Jesus said, "It is finished," not "I am finished." In other words, the assignment is finished. Apostle Paul said, "I have finished my race." You see, man is a good starter, but a bad finisher. You know, you can wake up every day and you can write something and say, "Every day, I will read my Bible. I will read my Bible. I will pray. I will look out for people. I will have one day of the week dedicated to my wife," and other things. And the next 2 months is over. And you have not even crossed into the second month. So if you are saying, "I will pursue relationship with God, I will pursue influence with Him," what if the day you wake up and you can't even read the Bible? Will you continue? Or you're feeling sleepy? Will you still do that? Will you remember to pray if you wake up and there's no light for you to do anything you want to do?
Okay.
Or if there's any obstacle, for example. And also, if somebody you are trying to influence now offends you, or there's a betrayal, are you going to build a wall instead of digging a well that will feed other relationships in your life? So most times, some people can say this thing does not work because of one isolated case. And you know, if 10 people come your way today and 9 person tells you, "Derek, you are doing well," and 1 person says you are doing foolish things, do you know that most times you will think about that 1 person instead of thinking about the 9 persons? Because you are trying to say, because we are wired in our fallen state, and the natural nature is for us to try to correct the wrong thing instead of focusing on the things that are right. So you look at the one Judas Iscariot. If you look at that, you cannot raise the 11 world changers. So your hands get weak. You're pursuing relationship, maybe you get connected into a community, and the community of 12, only one person has offended you. You get offended. And when they ask you, say the church has hurt me. But if we drill down, we'll find that it's only one or two persons that offended you out of the whole lot of about 50 persons.
Okay, sir.
So you stop pursuing relationship with people because exactly that's also pursuing relationship with God. You stop influencing people because of bitterness, resentment, and everything. To finish well, you have to cut all those things off. That's why we propose and I will encourage people to go for inner healing. There's a training my wife is doing now for 50 women. I should think that we still have some slot for some women to enter, so that there is that engagement and that interaction to look at what stops you from being in a relationship. You've seen some people say, I don't do relationship, I'm a solo person. How far can you go? If you go alone, you go fast. So finishing well, you have to go with people. Because if you go with people, you will go far.
So it seems like, okay, if Ifeanyi Johnson asked a question, which I believe Reverend has already answered. He asked a question on our Facebook handle, how do you pursue relationship with people? But I think Reverend has already handled that conversation already. Number, it seems like pursuing relationship with people is higher than the assignment, if I can infer. Because I was going to ask, why do people move from one project to another project, not finishing what they started, and they just keep moving? Is it that they didn't pursue relationship with God in the first place to hear that this is the call, and halfway through they now heard from God, they are now going to another assignment? Or is it that, like I said, is it the relationship, the community more higher than the assignment? Is it that they were not in community to be able to go through? Because we keep having
people going from one assignment
transiting
to another.
before it finishes, as it were. That kind of tension.
There should be some time of transitioning, but what you have done should not be left hanging. When Jesus said it is finished, he passed on the baton. It's not that everything assignment. That means that my finishing is also setting up the next generation to continue from where I stop. It's a relay race. It's a relay race. So now, what we need to understand is that sometimes some people do not hear and they start. Other times they hear, but the storms of life can distract them. Jesus told Peter, "Come," and Peter started walking on water. But he looked at the wind and it started sinking. Distraction can come. Nehemiah said, I'm doing a great thing. I'm doing a great thing. You cannot distract me. There are so many distractions that came. Not only distraction, defamation came. Not only that, slander came. Threats came. In fact, they wanted to kill him. Why? To weaken his hand so that he cannot finish his work. But one, he was in community. Two, he knew what God has said. And he gave them reply step by step. And you know what? He was praying along the way. And his prayers were one-liner prayers. And so we must get to that level where we understand, this is what God has told me. Even when the road is not easy, according to Mary, but I know he will not abandon me in this my level. Okay. So we will get to that.
Okay. We're drawing the curtain on this conversation today. Leave your question, leave your comment. We'll take all of that. Then go back and listen to the full message. So that in the course of finishing what you start, or finishing what you started, I want to take it into the context of a marriage relationship. Based on this presentation and the submission, we are supposed to be good finishers. So at what point in time do I restrain from pursuing what I started in a love relationship like marriage? Should I pursue it even at the detriment of other assignments? Because I want to
Please come again.
Yes, we want to pursue. We are supposed to pursue what we started, to finish well. But sometimes I'm putting in the context of a love relationship, married.
Yeah.
There are times where it is so intense and dangerous to trying to finish what you started because of the environment. At that point in time, should I embrace finishing well, finishing strong, or I can say this is not one of the assignment to finish well. This marriage relationship. Yes, it's not one of the assignment to finish well.
You see, I understand some people are when they talk about divorce, no shame, no judgment. The Bible says what God has joined together, let no man put asunder. The case that Jesus talked about is on marital unfaithfulness. People has converted it to adultery alone. No. When I married my wife, I signed up to care for her. Not to be lazy, to work hard, to provide. Not because I'm the breadwinner, because the breadwinner is there, but the work has given me strength. But before I married, I had work. So, one of the conditions, especially when you look at the Jewish setting, as they talk about the ketubah, the marriage agreement. The marriage agreement is that two parties, the boy and the girl will come and they will write their agreement. Not because the agreement is the one that will make them stay together. Is that they love themselves, the boy has proposed. Then they will come into the fourth place where is the ketubah. Each party, there will be elders around, fathers and mothers. Two of us, me and my wife, we will sit down and we'll write our marriage agreement. If there are things that are so outrageous, the older ones will say, no, this cannot be done at this point. So we'll write out the agreement. Then based on that, I will stand up and I will ask my wife will you marry me? It's not this agreement that brought us together, but this is the ketubah, the agreement that keeps the boundary of our love relationship, which is like the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments is a marriage proposal. It's a ketubah. So I will write to provide food, shelter, oil, clothing. The basic ones. And if that one is not done, the wife also has an agreement. One, to support the man, not to insult him. And every other agreement in the ketubah, to be only for him. So, if I get to a place where I am not providing for my wife, I'm not doing what is in the ketubah, not providing, and I'm lazy, I don't go to work. Now, there must be this thing. What will happen is that there will be one-on-one confrontation. My wife will tell me, you are getting this, I'm not feeling you because I'm not being provided for, I'm not being taken care of. If I still persist, there's 2-on-1 confrontation. These are the processes. Then the hope community will come. Why are you not doing this to fulfill? If I'm still doing it, that is marital unfaithfulness. And marital unfaithfulness is a ground for divorce.
Okay, so in those contexts, marital unfaithfulness, not necessarily adultery.
No. Adultery is involved.
Yes.
Not only.
Not adultery alone.
No. You can be a very, very pious person, not having any other person, but neglecting to provide, neglecting to provide leadership.
Okay, that's the part. Zero on the providers, we tap the curtain. So because there's a tendency to
leadership,
think the provide to be material provision.
Material provision is still there. Okay. I'm not saying doing above what you. The man that is earning 100,000 a month cannot do more than 100,000. Do you understand? Because if the woman is demanding more than that, is the man providing at all? Is he lazy? No, he's not lazy. But he's giving according to what he has. You also have an arrangement with him to be able to manage the family based on that, the woman. But not providing for the woman, treating her not good. treating her not as Jesus would treat the church. It's a ground called marital, or it's a ground for divorce because it's marital unfaithfulness.
Okay, sir.
So with that, I would not say that with this one-on-one confrontation, there's no change. With everybody talking, there's still no change. And every other person, you can be praying to God, you can be so spiritual, but that is your marital covenant you have entered that you are not faithful to.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. This is how we draw the curtain on this conversation. Obviously, there are many questions in your heart. This is what you do. Leave your questions on the comment section. Next week, when we have a conversation on a different topic, we promise you we're going to be taking your questions emerging from this one or past different thinking chat with Rev Benson Akhigbe second. So final words from me as we draw the curtain.
The final word is that I would love you to be in community. Not being in community is a form of saying I can do life on my own. There are some times that it's when I see my wife praying and reading, I get encouraged. I see my people in my spiritual family taking some things, doing some things. I get encouraged. It gives me strength. So be part of a community. When people say, I'm done with church, what they are saying is that they are done with a building. But please don't be done with a community. Be part. Join a small group. You can be in a large church and still be very lonely. Okay. Be part of a life group or a small group in the church. Okay. Have adventure, meet people, talk outside the context of the building, and stay connected. That's how you get strengthened. So if you are not meeting your marital obligation, which is your the marital ketuba, you will see somebody else who is the same position with you, but things are working well. He will sharpen you. But if you think that I'm treating my wife well, I'm treating my husband well, and I have nobody to advise me, that's a place where error is lacking. And you know one word for it? Pride. Mm-hmm. Pride. I can't read Bible alone. Derek, you have some revelation that I need. Yeah. And if I go with you arm in arm, and we are going together, when you are tired, I will be strong for you. When I'm tired, you'll be strong for me. And that's what the Bible says in Ecclesiastes chapter 4. That we need to stay together. I cannot be one by myself. With being with you, you will challenge me. You open scriptures to me, and I will glean from you. Especially, you may find out that day I didn't read the Bible. But your reading of the Bible has come. Or I bring my revelation I have of scriptures to you. You have your own perspective, and I get excited about it. So what you have used 6 hours to study, I get in 6 minutes. So you see there's a multiplier effect.
Thank you very much, sir. There's so much. In fact, next week, one of the questions promised to ask is, Reverend made mention about the Advance School of Supernatural Reformation and Transformation. And the question will be, can the supernatural really be taught? That's a question we're going to be taking as part of the conversation for next week, and also your questions as it pertains to our conversation thus far. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you so much.
Stay connected. This is Different Thinking Chat with Rev Benson Akhigbe II. Shalom.
God bless you. Shalom.